Christian.
Here we have a trilobite from the Cambrian time period. Now scientists can't explain the Cambrian explosion because there's no prior ancestors to these said fossils. Or in other words, everything just appeared at once. Now I'm going to have my partner come up and give you a closer, in-depth look at this fossil. Come on up.
So here we got a trilobite, and it just is, we have issues with it because every time we try to touch it, it leaves the fossil.
Perfect. What is morality? Or, here's a better question, where does morality come from? We're going to start with dissecting the word morality, and here's an example of some morals. I have morals! So what are morals? Morals are our sense of what's right from what's wrong. So where do they come from? Now being Nill Bye, the Christian guy, it's easy for me to say morals come from God. But I can't say this to an atheist, for example, because they don't believe in God. So there's got to be scientific proof that points to God. Going up and punching somebody randomly on the street is not a good thing to do, and I think most people would agree with me on that. This is because of an underlying ethical value that everybody shares, which has been pre-programmed into our brains, which points to intelligent design. Now my partner here is going to explain some irreducible complexity while I go take a coffee break. Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah. Okay, so irreducible complexity is when there is something that needs all of its parts to be able to function. And this here, we have my dirt bike here, and this engine will run just fine, but I'm going to do something to it to make it not run just fine. And this engine needs all of its parts in order to run. Give me a second. So I've taken out the spark plug, and now I should be able to kick this all day long, and nothing's gonna happen. Won't start. No, I'm gonna put it back in. Now I have reinstalled my spark plug, and it should start very easily. Radiocarbon dating is done by measuring the rate of decay in C14 atoms to see when the once living organism was last alive. The problem with carbon dating is it's only good up to a certain amount of years. So when scientists say that this teddy bear is 1 million years old, it actually couldn't be, because technically carbon dating is only good up to 50,000 years. So.
What is the chance theory? The chance theory is the idea that the Earth and the universe, for that matter, all just happened in a 1 in 700 quintillion chance. At the beginning of time, or millions and millions of years ago, as most evolutionary scientists would tell you, everything supposedly just happened by chance and poofed into existence. Well, then you might ask yourself, well, how did we come about? Scientists believe that evolution is the answer to this question. They believe that we started from tiny little cells which evolved into different cells and evolved into bacteria and just by chance became self-aware and then evolved into more complex life forms, such as the trilobite we talked about earlier in the Cambrian Explosion section. Scientists then believe that these trilobites evolved into more complex organisms, such as dogs, cats, birds, dinosaurs, people. This all sounds ridiculous, right? Well, this is what scientists are teaching. The chance theory is their explanation for why we are where we are. So the odds of us being where we are, one astronomical ratio after another, may not be as good as you think. Fine-tuning. What is it? Fine-tuning shows us that everything in the universe is tweaked just to the correct value to permit life. Take gravity for example. The force of gravity is determined by the gravitational constant. Now if this constant varied by just 1 in 10 to the 60th parts, none of us would exist. To put 10 to the 60th parts into perspective, you can compare it to the number of cells in your body. Now if the gravitational constant varied by just one of these parts, then the universe would have either expanded so rapidly that the solar systems would spread apart from each other, or it would have been too weak and the entire universe would have collapsed back on itself. Obviously, you and I would be dead if either of those things happened. So, we're still here, so we know that didn't happen. So, cool. This is one of the many examples of fine-tuning which points back to intelligent design in our universe today. Now we're going to discuss the impossibility of chemical evolution and why creating life in a human laboratory is beyond human capability. So chemical evolution, what is it? Well, it's basically what it sounds like. From a scientific perspective, chemicals, like anything else, have evolved from their prehistoric state. You see, we have our chemicals now, but using abductive reasoning, scientists can only guess as to how these chemicals got here without involving an intelligent design. Scientists' explanation and what they found, working from start to finish, is that chemicals were created during the Big Bang and they just kept evolving until at one point they became self-aware and evolved into more intelligent, sophisticated organisms, such as humans. What they don't explain, however, is how these chemicals just magically became self-aware. My chair, for example, is not just going to become self-aware that it's a chair and then mutate into some fancy lazy boy recliner. That would be great, but it's not going to happen. Scientists have discovered how to create what they think are amino acids in a lab, aka just a petri dish. Scientists have assembled some amino acid strings in the lab, which leads them to believe they can create life. However, amino acids are not necessarily life. They require coding, aka DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, for those of you who are really interested, to create the specific sequence which stitches these amino acids together and creates programming for which organisms are created. Yes, scientists have created amino acids, however, they don't understand the specific sequences of the DNA to stitch them together to create life from these amino acids. Therefore, scientists cannot create life. Again, using abductive reasoning, we can see how astronomy and cosmology have shown there was a point of creation. It wasn't until just recently that humans discovered the universe is expanding. How do we know the universe is expanding? Well, when scientists look through a telescope at the stars, they notice something rather peculiar. You see, when something moves away, or when something moves fast enough, the light rays become thinned. This creates an extended wavelength which alters the color of the original star and makes it more red in this case. So we can see that because the stars are more red, that the universe must be moving away from itself. Now, using abductive reasoning, we can look backwards and say that, okay, the universe must have shrunk itself down. Or it could have turned inside out and kept going the other way, but that's highly unlikely. So, chances are the universe just shrunk down into a pea-sized thing. Now, what scientists have concluded from this is that there must have been some sort of big bang which sent everything hurtling through the universe, and it hasn't stopped since. Because there is no friction in space due to the lack of air, nothing slows down. That's their explanation, and it actually does make sense. However, what they have failed to explain is how the Big Bang happened. And this is the 1 in 700 quintillion chance that the universe is here just because it's here. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. While the Big Bang could have happened, it's 1 in 700 quintillion chance. And then we have another astronomical ratio that may have happened after that. And another one, and another one, and another one. And they just keep lining up one after another. And at some point, none of these could have happened all one after another. It's impossible. Like I explained earlier, if gravity was one tiny part more or one tiny part less, it would result in the universe expanding too much, which would make everything spread apart, or too little, which would cause the universe's gravity to be too weak and it would suck itself back in and implode. Fine-tuning points back to intelligent design. The fact that we are still here and the universe is still expanding at a perfect rate, a precise perfect rate, points to intelligent design.
Christian.